Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another episode of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krentzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast, coming to you as always from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in still a white-covered, snow-covered Bergen
Yes,
County, New Jersey.
Icy.
Yeah, man, we just keep getting worse and worse here.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining the program and the podcast this week for episode number 26, which would be 26 on the Spanish dial. If
Sí.
you're tuning in from a country that that is your preferred language, there you go, 26. And as always, you can hear us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, and a bunch of other places that you can tune in and listen to us. Yeah, we're kind of where you can, if you know what, if you're looking to find us, you can, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to make that much of an effort.
You don't have to make that much of an effort.
Definitely
You
not.
pretty much can type letters, and the letters that we use, you got
And there
us.
you go. And I'm gonna give you a cheat sheet to start. You ready?
Yeah.
You want to find us? I'll give
yeah.
you an easy way.
Okay.
MYPB show at gmail.com.
wow.
You can send your questions there. And one of the things we are going to do today on the program in the second half
Yeah.
is I'm going to keep my word and we're going to answer questions that have been sent to that email from listeners.
Very nice.
I have a lot of hockey questions today that I'm going to get to. They are not Ranger related, so I'm a little bit out of my element, but I can handle it. And that's what we're going to do on the second half of the program today.
Nice.
How was your Valentine's Day, sir?
It was great.
Now I have
nothing to complain about.
well, you have nothing to complain about. I have to say the paparazzi apparently found you this weekend. I don't know, are you aware of this?
Yes. So you found you found me.
I saw on Sunday
Yes.
a picture of you
Mhm.
out and about with your Valentine on Sunday.
Yes.
And when I saw your outfit, the
Yes.
adjective that came to my mind right away was dapper. You just look
Thank you.
dapper in your outfit.
Thank you. So you want to know another fun fact that you might not know?
Go ahead.
So, it's not like I was going around telling the whole world, but I am engaged now.
Whoa.
Yes.
When did that happen?
On Valentine's Day.
Well,
So now I'm getting married, baby.
I would say that's pretty big news.
Pretty big news, yeah.
I mean, I knew you were out for Valentine. I knew what restaurant you were at because
Yeah.
I saw Did it happen at the restaurant?
No, it was a little awkward at the nothing. Don't get me wrong. Biagio's is the best. We love Biagio's. We had a great time. It was a little. We were separated. It was a little awkward even to take pictures, like to get a picture taken. So we left Biagio's. Did it at the apartment.
I did not. You know what? And I actually spoke
Yeah.
to you yesterday. We usually don't talk too much outside of the studio, but we did talk yesterday. I didn't know about this, and
I
I've
don't
been
know
here.
if you're not. Are you supposed to go around and be like,
Yes.
"Ooh, man, look at me"?
You're
I'm not
supposed.
like that.
You're supposed to say,
Okay.
"Hey, I have exciting news. I got engaged. Good for
Well,
you, Dougie Sticks. Well, congratulations.
More
We'll have to.
more for you guys.
We'll have to do a special episode from your cocktail hour.
Absolutely. You'll be there, so absolutely.
You know what? Jess and I joke all the time that now that we're like in our 40s, we don't we don't get to go to weddings anymore.
Mhm.
There was a time we would have a wedding every Saturday and Sunday, like in your late 20s.
Mhm.
Now we don't have one, so now we can add one to our radar. Jess will be happy.
Maybe I'll even live stream it.
Knowing you, there would be there will probably be on iTunes and Spotify and all that good stuff. Well, congratulations,
Thank
sir.
you.
That's a nice way to start the
you.
show.
Thank you.
I completely
There you
news
go.
to me. Can I ask the person who's sitting in the studio? Did you know about this? He didn't know about it either.
What do you go around like? It's not like guys get rings. Well, I'm gonna be like.
Was she surprised? Was she surprised?
I mean, she wanted to get married yesterday, so she
Got
knew it was coming.
Well, congratulations. Yeah, that's phenomenal. Well,
Yeah.
we send our congratulatory wishes
Thank
to you and your
Thank you.
fiance. Now you have to get
Thank
used
you.
to saying the word
I
fiance.
know.
Well, you had a really good Valentine's Day then. Thanks for answering that question. And now
How was yours?
mine
Top that.
mine was I could go a much different direction.
Yes.
I did not have the world's best weekend. I'll tell you what happened to me, and then we have an awesome guest coming on the show, but I'll tell you what happened to me on Friday to kick off the Valentine's Day weekend. I was in the city. I was parked in my car on 3rd Avenue,
Mhm.
and I didn't start the meter yet because you only have 2 hours, and I wanted to wait till I had to get out of the car.
Mhm.
And I was literally about a minute away from getting out of my car, and all of a sudden I heard this, loud bang, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't know what happened, something around me.
Mhm.
And I got out of the car and I saw that a New York City sanitation truck with a snowplow on it plowed into my new car. That was my
Ooh.
well, I wouldn't say that was my Valentine's Day weekend, but that's how it started.
Like plowed in or plowed it and like hit it and you have damage?
Oh, I have damage. Like he didn't realize he navigated the turn wrong. So the plow, as it was moving, went into
Like
my car. Now,
tore up the side of your.
yeah. And the worst part about it
You
was
just got the car.
I got the plates the day before. I got the plates on Thursday. This happened Friday. And then on top
Sorry,
of
I'm
it,
laughing.
it's fine. It is funny. The guy starts driving away thinking I wasn't in the car, and why would he
You
stop?
were in the car.
I was sitting in the car. I hadn't paid the meter yet.
Oh my god.
So yeah, that's how my Valentine's Day weekend started. But
So,
nothing
like,
can top your news
Are
about
you gonna
being.
get a new car?
No, I'm gonna get it fixed. It's fixable. It's
fixable?
bad. It's not.
'Cause
It's not.
You could like bring it back and complain and get another rentals for like.
Well,
another,
or the
3 months.
sanitation department, they send the supervisor to the scene,
Mhm.
and the guy admitted fault. Like he's like, well, here's a report you need. Obviously, our insurance is paying for it, and I got to deal with the process of a rental car and all that stuff. But we can take a tour outside the studio, and I could show you the car after the show.
See, yes,
So-
absolutely.
So one of the things on the Mind Your Puck in Business podcast that we like to do is, and we said this really on the first episode, that we do like to highlight small businesses and big businesses as well, and give them kind of some an outlet, a
Business
spotlight. And we have one today that I'm really super excited about, and that is again, this program is filmed in Bergen County. Ridgewood is about 10 minutes from where we film. And Ridgewood, I would say, is a town. Even if you're not from Bergen County, but you live in New Jersey, you've heard of Ridgewood.
It's like
right?
the hub. It's like the
Yeah.
hub of the Bergen County.
Yes,
area.
Ridgewood and Paramus,
Yeah.
I'd say, are our two probably most popular towns. And the downtown area of Ridgewood is awesome if you've never been. And a million great restaurants you can choose from. And one of those really awesome businesses that Ridgewood has is the Ridgewood YMCA. And we are excited today to be joined by the Chief Executive Officer of the Ridgewood YMCA, and that is Mr. Ernest Lamour. And we'll bring him in. How are you?
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you. And again, as I told you when we brought you in right before we went live, I love looking at your office with the background because I never see offices anymore in this day and age, and all the stuff on the wall. I'm just going to stare at the wall. I think it's awesome. You got a cool looking office there. So how are you?
I'm doing great. Dougie Sticks, congratulations, man. That's big news.
Thank you.
Off the market.
I tell you, those, like the Tinder sites of the world, the stocks just went down in the last 5 minutes since that news came out.
All the apps, man.
Yeah.
They're crushed now.
And you know what? Is it okay if we call you Ernie?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, Ernie, I'm surprised because I didn't even know. Like, I mean, that was literally dropped on me as a hammer that I had no notice of that. So, well, we're excited for him. So let me ask you a couple questions. And again, I know you're a busy man, so thank you for the time. One of the things that we've seen with some of the businesses that have come on the show, including the small business that I run, because this is not my full-time job, is that COVID has really impacted businesses, regardless of what sector you're in. So I'm going to guess that the YMCA has been impacted during the pandemic. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. One of the saddest things I had to do as a result of COVID was to lay off about 96% of our workforce. Just go back a year ago, we walked into our conference room with staff and I told folks, I said, hey, we're going to close our doors for 2 weeks and we'll be back. Well, 2 weeks turned into 7 months before we can even really reopen our doors to allow membership to have access to our facilities. But that was very difficult. It's still something, that bothers me till this day because a lot of the folks that we laid off, there were personal relationships, people I've gotten to know extremely well and their families over the course of my 4 years being here. And so having to tell folks, hey, this thing's going to last longer than the 2 weeks we thought, and I'm not sure how long it's going to take. And we had to do a lot of furloughs, and that was tough. A lot of sleepless nights. But our Y is very resilient. We've got a great group of people at the senior leadership level, and our board of volunteers. There are about 24 volunteers, and everybody rolled up their sleeves and got behind us in terms of what we needed to do next. But when COVID hit, again, didn't know it was going to be this long, and we're still in this. We're a $7 million organization. At the end of 2020, we lost 4.2 million. And we had to figure out ways to get creative in how we're going to serve our community. One of the things that I've always expressed to Doug is that RY is much more than a swim and gym. I truly believe that. And, I am living proof of that. My history with the Y stems from when I was a little child, a little boy that came from Haiti in 1988. And as a single parent household, my dad raising 6 of us, I'm the youngest of his 6 children, 4 girls and 2 boys. My dad said, you guys can go to school, church, and the Y in that particular order. So I know what the Y does for people and how they impact lives. And so it was just going back to my roots and how are we going to turn this around and really have an impact on the lives of people who are hurting right now. So I'm proud of the work RY has been able to do during this pandemic, and it's things that are going to continue. We've been around 120 years in this community, and I want us to be here for another 120 years, way beyond my time here on this earth.
When I found out you were coming on the show today, I remembered I had a buddy growing up that was obsessed with the Ridgewood Y. He would be home in the summers from college, and he would spend literally, 6, 7 hours a day. We never saw him during the day. He was either there working out, doing programs, playing basketball. He was there all the time. And when I knew you were coming, the story came back to me. So, obviously you've been impacted, as you said, we all have. What have some of the things you've had to kind of pivot and make any changes within the business model due to COVID?
Yeah, so there are a lot of things we weren't doing prior to COVID. And it's not that we weren't planning on doing these things, because again, we're here to serve lives and serve community as best as we can. And so when our community needs us, we step up. So there are a number of things that we've done during COVID and how we've pivoted. One, we started feeding our community. People think of Ridgewood, they think of Bergen County, they think, there are a lot of wealthy people that live here and people don't struggle. Well, yes and no. There are a lot of wealthy people that live here in Ridgewood and in Bergen County, but there are a lot of people that are struggling, in Bergen County, and especially when this pandemic hit and people are losing their jobs, there's not a paycheck coming, how they're worried about how they're going to put food on the table. And so one of the things we've been able to do is partner with the Central Food Bank of New Jersey to provide food. We're partnering with Table, another great nonprofit organization. So once a week, we are feeding our community. And when this started back in April, we had 25 cars coming into our parking lot. And by the time June hit, we were seeing 160 to 215 cars, depending on the week. We're providing fresh produce. We are providing self-storage food. We're here to serve the community. So that's one of the things I'm extremely proud we're able to do. It's sad to see, but again, I'm happy that RY has been able to step up and do this and offer this to our community of people who are hurting right now. Another thing we've been able to pivot from really well, I think, is, we started a preschool program during this time, and it's both virtual and in person. We've always wanted to operate and run a preschool. It's part of the Y. It's a fabric of the Y. A lot of Ys across the country have been running this for a long time, number of years. And it's something we've always wanted to do, but I think the pandemic pushed that up a little bit, because as families were looking to get back to work, they were worried about where they were going to bring their children, what's a safe space, what's a great environment where their kids can have that educational base taken care of, and also have that recreational outlet that they need. So we started a preschool program, which is doing really a great job in servicing our kids and families in the community. We started a program called K-8 Solutions, and essentially that's what it is. We are providing a solution for the working mom and dad. Because of the pandemic, a lot of these schools have gone with hybrid approach in terms of learning. So the kid could be in school 2 days this week, and 3 days virtual. And so with a number of school districts, doing it differently, we open our facility here, both in Ridgewood on Oak Street and in Camp Bernie out in Port Murray, another location of our Y, to have the K-8 kids who need help, who are going to school through that hybrid approach of learning. We have teachers and aides that are in each of the classrooms helping the kids navigate their day to day. And again, because we are the Y, we are providing a holistic approach to helping the families, these kids who are in need. So they are getting the educational piece taken care of. We partnered with the Huntington Learning Center to help with the homework assistance and provide tutoring for parents who think that their kids need the additional help, because learning loss right now. I'm a father myself. My wife and I, we have a second grader, and we know how difficult it is. Like today I'm in the office and my wife is home trying to work and navigate that virtual school day with our daughter. And that's not easy on anybody. And, and knowing that, we wanted to be able to provide the working families with an alternative plan and solution during this time. And again, it's another way to be here for our community while they need us. And I'm extremely proud of that work and that we're able to do that. Another thing I'll share that our Y has been doing since July, we started a social justice initiative, and we have a Y Talk series that takes place every other month. And it's to really address systemic racism in the various institutions in our country, in our world that exists. We bring experts on to discuss some of these topics. The very first one we had was on law enforcement, and we were proud to have the chief of police and the Bergen County sheriff with a couple of high school students here in town and an attorney, just to talk about some of the issues that exist in law enforcement and how can the Y play a role in that. This is not debate. This is about dialogue. Our Y is an apolitical organization, so this has nothing whatsoever to do with politics, because I like to tell my board members, we have friends on both sides of the aisle. If there's a place where everybody is welcome, that is the Y, right? We serve all types of people, various backgrounds. It really doesn't matter, if you're making $10 an hour or $100 an hour, you are welcome at the Y. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. This is the place where everybody's welcome. This is the place that is a stress-free environment. And I see us as the convening space for folks in our community to have dialogue around some of these issues and not debate. And so, civility is really at its core here at the Y. And so I'm excited about that work as well that we've been doing during the pandemic, and it's going to continue. All the things that we're doing now, these are all things that we're going to continue to do. And so when I say the Y is much more than a gym and swim, I truly mean it.
Well, it certainly sounds like it, and that's good to see that you guys are tackling social justice issues and mental health. And even with the schooling, I mean, I have two kids myself. I have a fourth grader and a first grader. So the mental effects for them, and not being homebound so much. Really, it's nice that you're giving an outlet to these preschool kids that they can go and on the days where they're not virtual and they're in your facility can kind of get some social interaction, because that is critical. Especially at that age. So last question for you, and then we'll let you go, Ernie, because I know you're super busy. What do you envision as the future for the Ridgewood YMCA?
Yeah, our Y is going to continue to be that space that is here to help everyone that's in need of help, no matter where they are. I see our organization getting much more into the social services. Again, I think we've done a lot of that during the pandemic, and that's going to continue. But again, I see our Y really being there for the community wherever there is a need, and partnering with others to provide those services. Another initiative that I don't want to fail to mention, because you brought it up actually, around the mental health aspect of it. There is a program now with a number of volunteers and child psychologists that are involved in this process with us in developing a Y Wellness program. And it's really to provide resources for kids and their families during this time. I don't see us as an expert in mental health awareness, but I think because of the fact that we serve children and families and all types of people that come through us, we all deal with it, right? And so because we have all these folks already coming through our Y, we are providing that service, and it's really tools to engage them and let them know you're not in this alone. And so moving forward, I really see our Y getting a lot more involved with the social services and really continuing to offer all the great things that we offer here and the health and wellness aspect of it. We have a beautiful fitness center, beautiful pools here. There are great fitness classes that we are offering. But I see us continuing to do that and really tackling the social service aspect of what our community really needs right now. And so I'm excited about the future of the Y. Obviously, none of this cannot occur without financial resources. And so fundraising is extremely important to an organization like us. I tell my board members and staff, no money, no mission. And essentially that is the truth. You have to be able to raise funds to continue to do this work. And so I hope the community will see that we are worthy of their support as we've been supporting everyone else in our community that are truly impacted by this pandemic right now. So thank you.
And one more thing, Ernie. So we're going to be doing a real big push soon. The Ridgewood Y is going to be doing a real big push with the community. We're going to have a series on defensive tactics, like how to protect yourself. The Y has a brand spanking new refurnished kitchen. So we're going to be doing like recipes of the week, bringing in local chefs from the community, business coaches, seminars. So really like get ready for a big blast of like videos, series, live streams. They're really going to be really in depth with the community. Yeah.
That's great. You certainly are exactly like you said. You are more than a swimming gym. There is no doubt about that, and all the stuff you do. So great work, and we thank you on our end for sponsoring us going forward. We're excited to help promote your goals and your missions on this program because we believe in them. We're excited for that. And if you're in the Bergen County area, you can find the Ridgewood YMCA at 112 Oak Street. That is in Ridgewood. And we thank you again, Ernie, for coming on. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Appreciate the work that you're doing and all the small businesses and nonprofits that you are helping to promote. Really appreciate your efforts. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, and you know what, Ernie, one last thing. If you want to get into the wedding catering business, we have a client now for you over here. he could come look and see if you guys cater weddings.
Well, listen,
here they come.
Hey, Doug, yes. Camp Bernie is a beautiful facility. If you're looking for a great place to have a wedding, there you go, man. It's a terrific venue.
Camp Bernie has plenty of flower boys and girls that could eat the flowers.
Well, we look forward to, like I said, Ernie, we look forward to promoting your missions and the shows ahead in the coming weeks. And thanks for supporting the program and coming on. Come on again, all right?
Thank you. Anytime, gentlemen. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Ernie.
Thanks, Ernie.
That was Ernest Lamour, CEO of the Ridgewood YMCA. So thank you for him for coming on the program. Absolutely. And you should really look at them as a wedding venue.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, like if Ridgewood's like the hub of like Bergen County area, the Ridgewood Y is like the hub of the hub. Like they have it all. It's the dead center of Bergen County. Not only do they serve Ridgewood, they serve all the surrounding towns, Hocus, Waldwick, Paramus. Like it's a huge facility servicing a lot of people. And I brought in the video before. I don't know if you noticed. I could bring it in again, but when they do these food drives, the cars, I was there. I filmed that. There's the cars lining down the street. Police officers have to direct traffic. They're feeding so many people in need.
That is awesome.
Yeah, if there's anything that you guys can do to help the Ridgewood Y as well, please do, because they can't do it without us.
Yes, and I think I am actually going to take a ride there in the next week or two and check it out. I think I'm going to go myself.
Well, I mean, if you're going to do it the next day or so, there's a blood drive on Thursday, so you can also give blood, I believe.
Very cool. Right. Well, we thank them for coming on, and we will be mentioning them in the in the coming shows, and we look forward to it. So, shifting gears a little bit before we wrap it up, talk a little bit of hockey. As I promised, I was going to answer some questions that have been coming in from people around the league. And before we get there, I'll do a real quick mention. The Rangers are back in action tonight against the New Jersey Devils, which I will get into in a couple minutes, because one of the questions, and I saved it for the end, is Devils COVID situation that's been going on. So we'll get to that in a minute. One of the questions, there was a couple negative questions, which I'm going to answer about teams being not doing well. But there was one positive, and let's start on a positive note. And that is the Florida Panthers. Are the Florida Panthers for real? Here's a team that is at the top of the standings. They just beat Tampa again last night.
Wow.
and they are doing well. So Dougie Sticks, before I get
Wow.
into it,
So you're asking me?
just, well, you know what? How about
I'm
this? I'm going
no,
to
I
just do a
like it.
simple yes or no.
Oh, I can't get into depth. What's up with that?
Oh, you can.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say they got a lucky start, and they're gonna even out. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Gut knee jerk reaction. I don't think the Florida Panthers are gonna do much.
You don't? Okay. I'm going to go the opposite road. I think they are. Here's why. They have a young guy on the team who has just gotten better every single year since he's been in the league, named Jonathan Huberdeau. The Florida Panthers have played 13 games so far. Jonathan Huberdeau has 17 points. Alexander Barkov, another young star on that team, has 14 points. They have a guy they got from the Pittsburgh Penguins who has Stanley Cup experience named Patrick Hornquist. He is very good. They have a goaltender who has not been playing well,
Yes.
Bobrovsky, who came to them from Columbus. But we do know from some of the years he's had in Columbus how good he can be. So this team, in my eyes, can only be better, actually, if Bobrovsky gets his game together. And you also have to remember they are coached by Joel Quenneville, who won 3 Stanley Cups in Chicago. So there is more than enough experience there and young
Okay.
talent. They are going to be good. They will be in the playoff mix, and they are a contender.
Now, what happened from last year that made like what? So like the Golden Knights, no one saw them coming like 2 years ago, and they're like players with things to prove, right?
Yes.
So what's going on over in Florida?
What's going on is Joel Quenneville was in his first year last year.
Yeah.
So sometimes, it takes some time to kind of implement your system that you like the team to play.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing that. They seem a little bit more offensive. They're kind of go through the neutral zone a lot quicker this year. They're more of an offensive team. Not that they weren't last year, but and the addition of Patrick Hornquist, I think, is great. I think he's been a great fit there. So he's got almost a point a game. So the Florida Panthers are for real, everybody. So it's
Wow.
time to give them the credit. It's hard to do that sometimes because you always think of like, what is South Florida and hockey? Like you
Yeah,
can't make
exactly.
the connection with Sunrise, Florida, down there in southeastern Florida. But hey, they are for real. So let's go to some negative questions. You
Ooh,
ready?
oh yeah.
Uh,
These are
uh,
the
I'm
fun
I'm gonna
ones.
try to deliver people some good news because I think that's what they want me to do, but it's a little bit difficult with some of these. We got an email a couple weeks ago, and I just hadn't answered it. And it was about the Detroit Red Wings. The Detroit Red Wings, known as Hockey Town, which is what Detroit is known as, have been abysmal for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And the person asked something along the lines, if I remember, is there anything to look forward to in the future for the Detroit Red Wings?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer really is not much. So their 2 leading scorers this year is a guy named Dylan Larkin, who's been good, and I think he'll be a good player in the league. I don't think he'll be a superstar. And a guy, Monta, is over there too. Other than that, there's not much. But let's try and make people happy, Dougie Sticks, and
Okay.
find the silver lining. You ready?
We don't have to. If they're
We
not
don't
any
have
good.
to, but we like to promote good news on the
Okay.
podcast, on
All
the
right,
program.
all right.
All right. So here's the good news. They hired Steve Yzerman as their GM last year.
Okay.
Steve Yzerman was one of the architects, if not the major architect, that brought the Stanley Cup to Tampa. Steve Yzerman knows what he's doing. He obviously played his Hall of Fame career in Detroit, so he kind of has a emotional tie to the city. If anybody can fix it, it's Steve Yzerman. The other thing I'm going to say, and I don't like to be negative about coaches, and I was negative with the Ranger coach a couple years ago, and people got on me, I don't know why, was that they have a coach, Jeff Blysill, who, I mean, should have been fired years ago, and they just almost don't care. They're not trying to win right now. They're in a rebuilding mode. If they were good, he will not be the long-term coach. So let's kind of step away from that and look at the bigger picture that Steve Yzerman is your silver lining and who can hopefully return. Another negative question. Why are the San Jose Sharks so bad? The San Jose Sharks are so bad for a couple different reasons, actually. The main reason of which is your top 4 leading scorers there, who's Logan Couture, Thomas Hertl, Evander Kane, and Brent Burns, are all older now. They're not young guys. I mean, Hertl, I guess, is maybe in the middle of his career, but they're older. They're not a win now team. They do have some prospects in their organization. So if you're a Sharks fan, I don't want to say it's total doom and gloom. Just I would say that you're going to go through a couple years here where there's not going to be much, but their prospect pool is pretty good out there in San Jose. We had Curtis Gabriel on the program, as you
Good dude.
remember.
Very good dude.
Very good dude, an awesome dude. We still owe him a carrot cake when he comes east,
Yes.
by the way. And he is in the AHL program out there, and we know how high we think of Curtis Gabriel. So I do think that it will get a little bit better. The other one I think is a little bit more concerning out of all three, and that is the Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators were good for so long. How come all of a sudden they just can't get their act together and they just have remained in the bottom of the standings? I know it's early, but it doesn't seem like it's going to turn around. It's not going to turn around. The issue there, the main problem there, and is Pekka Rinne, their goalie, who was great for years, is older. I mean, he's just not as good anymore. And they also, if you kind of put that with the fact that they're not a high offensive team, you're relying on your goaltender to win 2-1 games because you're not going to score a lot of goals. And Pekka Rinne can't do that anymore. I like their coach, John Hines, who got fired here in New Jersey and got hired. And the person sitting over to my left over here is in his Devil jersey today. I like the coach, but not having a training camp doesn't really allow a coach to implement a system. So I'm going to give John Hines a little bit of a slack there. But keep in mind, you still have some really young people there. Forsberg leads the team in points. Roman Josi is going to be a stud defenseman in this league, and they still have Matt Duchene. I wouldn't be worried. I just think the issue they need to fix out there is the goaltending issue. Last question, and are you ready to play?
I'm
ready
ready to play.
You're ready to get involved? You are running on lack of sleep today, so I wasn't sure if you were ready.
My favorite game. Well, we had a lot of technical difficulties, so
right.
I'm okay. I'm ready for it.
Now you're ready. You had your monster drink over there, I see.
Yes.
And now he's ready.
It's code red when I have a monster.
Yes. If you don't have your little kombucha or whatever the heck you usually drink over at that table. All right. So the COVID situation got a little bit ugly here in the NHL.
Oh yeah.
We mentioned it was either last week or the week before. I think it was last week on episode 25, for those Spanish in the Spanish, that the outbreak was tied to a weekend series 2.5 weeks ago between the New Jersey Devils and the Buffalo Sabres up in Buffalo.
Yes.
It seemed at the time, and it seems like it was true, is the Devils had it first. So there were some Devil players, it's definitely looking like, at that weekend series that were positive. They didn't know they were positive, obviously, or they wouldn't have been played in that weekend series, and in turn knocked out some of the Buffalo team, including the coach, Ralph Kruger, who tested positive up there, who was back last night. Buffalo played their first game last night. Taylor Hall, also, who I'm going to assume this guy on the left is going to boo me in a minute, on Buffalo, also tested positive. So the linesman went into quarantine. Here's the thing. And what is the NHL supposed to do, right? Like if we can identify a problem and say to the NHL, you have players that are playing, they're positive, and they're giving COVID to other players, and it's shutting down teams for 2 weeks. The Flyers are now in quarantine. There's been a couple issues with the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars already. I'm not sure what the answer really is, though. I mean, we're just going to have to live with this right now.
I think we're at a point where we don't go to the bubble mode. We do the reverse bubble kind of thing where all the players, they have it or not, they just play.
Well, I'm not sure that's the answer.
They have it or not. I mean, at this point, because it's like it's so hard. Like it's spreading. It's
so
the whole the whole Buffalo Sabres team had it. The whole Devils team had it. Like you can't escape it now. It's too late. If you were in the bubble, different story.
So the good news here, if you want good news,
okay,
is that all the players on New Jersey who had it, all the players on Buffalo who had it, including their coach, Ralph Kruger, because he spoke about it yesterday, how he had a lack of energy for a couple of weeks. None of them had the serious complications we see on the news, which is what we all fear. So it seems to me, if you kind of do some simple research or detective work, that what is happening is you have players that are young, they're in good shape. Does that grant them immunity from something terrible? No, it doesn't. It just means your odds are higher from what it sounds like that you're going to be fine. And they were all fine. Now, the NHL, though, has logistical nightmare on their hands with rescheduling all these games with teams. They actually this weekend have 2 games scheduled, marquee games out in Lake Tahoe. One of them is the Philadelphia Flyers and the Boston Bruins. And the Philadelphia Flyers technically are still in COVID protocol. So the NHL has said that they are prepared to replace that game with another team. So they'll send Boston out to Lake Tahoe this weekend, but they won't send the Flyers anymore. And it sounds like the team they're going to sub in is the New York Rangers.
But what about your playoff standings and
they would make up the game. The NHL, and we talked to Dan Rosen when he was on a couple weeks ago, and Dan had said, the NHL had built in a couple days at the end of the season to make up games. It's going to have to be more than a couple days.
The Devils alone was a week that didn't play?
The Devils have missed for 2.5 weeks. The Devils return to action tonight at Madison Square Garden versus the Rangers. And the Devils' last game.
So I see what you guys did here.
Oh, in the studio. Yeah. Well, I don't know what people are wearing here before. But the Devils haven't played since January 31st up in Buffalo. To tell you how long ago that was, you want to know? We'll give you a little bit of an idea.
Yeah.
That was the day before we got the massive snowstorm. So the last time the
Wow.
Devils played, there was grass on the ground.
Wow.
You could see
And
green
It
grass.
seems like forever ago.
Right. That's how
It's been
long it's
snowing
been.
every day.
And so tonight, the Devils return to action. They get Sammy Vatanen back in their lineup, and they return to Madison Square Garden against the New York Rangers.
How do we feel that game's going to go?
You know, we were talking in the studio before we went on.
Yeah.
You have to like the Rangers, and that's not like a homer pick. The Devils haven't played in 2.5 weeks, right? So they're not going to have their legs. I mean, not only have they not played in 2.5 weeks,
Yeah.
but it sounds like half their team was knocked out with COVID. Right?
Should we bring in? I can send a link. Should we bring in a Devils analyst?
No, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're running.
Next time. Next time.
I mean, you have to like the Rangers in the game, and the Rangers are due to win. I mean, they had two really not overly impressive performances versus Boston, but the Rangers also haven't played in 4 days because they were supposed to play on Valentine's Day and on Sunday, but they did not because the opponent was the Flyers, who's in COVID protocol. So they all camped out at this restaurant and watched you get engaged. Apparently, was the plan.
Yes.
So
we all hung out.
Yes.
COVID together.
So that is, as I promised, I would get to some of the NHL questions, and we did that today for you. So any questions you have going forward, we're going to probably be better about answering hockey questions because we lose football now, and we will have.
Mistimed it. I totally mistimed it. I gave you the link. I thought you were going for the. If you have any questions.
What did you put up?
I put the link up.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah. If you have any questions, you can go to the email link on the screen, mypbshow@gmail.com. It doesn't matter which of the 31 NHL teams you support, or if you support the 32nd team coming next year, the Seattle Kraken. We will answer any questions you've got, and we will go from there. A little bit on the New York Ranger front. Tony DeAngelo has still not been traded, and we said on the program that it was going to be very difficult to trade him. So we were right about that, unfortunately. He remains a wasting away contract at the moment. So hopefully the Rangers will move him. And Mika Zibanejad cannot buy a goal. He remains 1 goal on the season. We will give him a little bit of a pass because he was battling COVID as the season started. But that was now a week and a half ago. And this guy has had so many glorious chances, including one last week where Tuukka Rask robbed him on a 2-on-1, where he literally just stuck his glove out and Mika magically put it right into the center of the glove.
Now, this is the same guy who had a good season last year, right?
Mika Zibanejad had a phenomenal season.
So wasn't he like one of the league scorers?
Yes, he was. And he
of the whole league?
top of yeah. I see what you're doing there. Mika Zibanejad last year was one of their top scorers, top 2, matter of fact, behind Panarin, and is really what in everybody's mind should be the captain of the New York Rangers. However, he remains 1 goal. And people are saying it seems to be a confidence issue with him, but I would disagree because he's just been getting robbed. He just can't finish right now.
How come he's not the captain?
The Rangers have elected to take an approach where they have 4 assistant captains. I don't know that I necessarily support that approach. They have 4 assistant captains and not a single person designated to be a captain.
Why not 4 captains?
I don't know. Well, they wouldn't have 4 captains. If you have a captain, you have 1. Most teams will have a captain and then a bunch of assistants. The Rangers have just said a bunch of assistants. What I think they're doing is they are waiting a year or 2, and they will name probably Alexis Lafreniere the captain, or Keandre Miller, one of these, or Adam Fox, one of these young guys. And if I read any more press, by the way, I'm going to get annoyed here for a minute.
Oh yes,
I got a message yesterday from somebody in LA. Did I tell you this?
No.
About how I should be annoyed that Alexis Lafreniere is a bust of a pick. He's played in 12 career games, this guy. He never had a training camp.
Yeah.
And do you know what line this guy is playing with? Who are his 2 line mates that people are calling him a bust?
I mean, they shift every other game, right?
That is true. But he is mostly with Brett Howden and Phil DiGiuseppe. I mean, we're not talking like Hall of Fame offensive players here. Can people just relax? The guy's played in 11 games, and he's had a lot of chances, and he has shown glimpses of where you could see him being good.
And
relax.
With that attitude, you're gonna hurt his confidence, and he will be a bust if you keep
Yeah.
busting on them.
It's not the worst thing that the Rangers media availability, or any team really, because of COVID, is not what it is, because it may be a topic if it
Oh
if
yeah,
it
they'll be
was.
asking them some
Yeah,
silly questions.
if it was. Now, the Rangers also, if you didn't watch, Governor Cuomo, the governor of New York, allowed last week for fans to enter arenas in New York State. So the Islanders, the Rangers, and the Buffalo Sabres are bringing fans back. The Rangers will have their first game with fans next Friday night, the 26th, versus the Bruins. They are limited to 2,000 fans at most. Now, keep in mind that Madison Square Garden's capacity is 18,200. So we're talking minimal people.
Mhm.
When the way that the Rangers are doing this, and I know this firsthand because I am a season ticket holder, is season ticket holders have first access. You are allowed 2 tickets per game, regardless of how many tickets you have on your account.
Mhm.
So you could be like me, where you have more than 2 tickets on your account per game, but you're only allowed 2. And they're selling seats as in pods. So it should be interesting how they're going to do it. I have no idea what to
Cool.
expect.
So you have more than 2 tickets.
Right. But for right now, you can only get 2 tickets per
Gotcha.
game. Plus, you need to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours of the event and bring receipt of that negative test to the game.
Interesting.
And they will be, of course, taking temperatures and all that stuff. So going to a game is nice, but you're not really, it's not going to be
You're
normal.
gonna have like 5 seats to your right, 5 seats to
Something
your left.
along that
The whole
lines.
row in front of you is empty.
Something along that line. Someone
Wow.
had said to me, and I called him out on it right away, and I was right. He said last week, he said, well, if the Rangers are only allowed to 2,000 people, the MSG is not even going to care to sell tickets. I said, yeah, they are, because they need revenue.
Yeah.
They haven't sold the
They need
ticket
every
in a year and a
dollar
half.
they can
Yeah, they need money. And you will also see in the Garden, if you go to these games, every concession stand will not be opened, right? You're not going to
Yeah.
open up every concession stand. So, like, if you're like some of the buddies that I sit with that love this place, Daily Burger in the Garden, which is
Yeah.
really good, a place like that is not going to be open. It's going to be like, you want a popcorn, you want a hot dog, but all these specialty stuff
Yeah.
is not going to be there.
Bag of
So
Doritos.
it is a step in the right direction, but we still have some work to do in terms of getting 18,200 people into the world's most famous arena. But at least it's a start. That's a wrap for today. We thank Ernest Lamour again for coming on to the program, and he will be back. And we appreciate the Ridgewood YMCA sponsorship going
Absolutely.
forward. So you will hear us mention them quite often in the coming weeks. And again, any questions you have, as you saw today, we do in fact answer them. We pick some. You can always email them at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com. We also send our congratulatory wishes to Dougie Sticks for being off the market, and explains why, when I pulled up to the studio today, there were not a crowd of women outside waiting for you like there normally is. It now makes sense. I was wondering why getting in here this morning was a little bit easier
Ghost
than.
town now. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Tomorrow they'll be having signs and picketing out there.
I tell you, I got a best parking spot I've had in weeks today, and that must be why. All the female crowd that comes and looks for you.
Possibly.
I tell
But
you.
thank you, thank
Well,
you.
congratulations, Dougie
Thank you.
Sticks. In that sense, appreciate you listening. Again, you can find us anytime at Facebook, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, other places out there. We appreciate the listenership. Tune in next week. Enjoy your week.